Hello and welcome to TFT Worlds Last Chance Qualifiers, game number 2.
He's very good at carousel, or he just happens to have a lot of swords to pick from. Either way, someone that is not good at carousel. This is a historic thing. I'm not flaming Lucas. He's someone that historically, he knows I'm not good at carousels for ping reasons, mechanical reasons. I'm not entirely sure. A player that just is content with anything, and maybe that helps him play flexibly.
No, absolutely. I think it can be very difficult if you're very intent on going down a particular path and you don't not get the items you're looking for. That flexibility being forced upon you is only going to be a good thing. Of course, we'll keep an eye out for Toddy again. Finish out in 8th for Jose from Peru, finishing 7th as well. Two particular players we're looking out for to see if they can keep themselves in a position where actually hitting top 2 is remotely realistic.
All right, one sword, okay, but two swords might be too much. Game, please, relax. I only wanted one, now he gets two. Deathblade, not really an item you slam early on. A bit more particular than most other AD items in this set. Nidalee, of course, loved it, but Nidalee is no longer with us when it comes to metacomps at the very least. Shapeshifter not really doing its thing as it has in previous patches in this set. But those who are doing their thing are Guardians, Leona pair on the board for Taji, and also Malphite for the Lagoon start for the Bruiser with Jack with Shimmer Skill Malphite, one of the key units in Stage 2.
All right, we will be rocking the Dawn, bringing to termination, so a lot of extra front line to maybe push a Deja to stack up. We'll get our first augments in, so no Prismatic. But we have got some very promising augments here for Toddy.
If Namzi was Cannoneer and if Taji's trying to check that now, he might decide to pick Ricochet. This is an augment that really elevates the newly buffed Cannoneer comp into the stratosphere, but Namzi is not Cannoneer, as Taji might find out as he lurks around trying to scope out, looking at those traits. It is actually Mage for this game, and once those nerfs came through a few patches ago, I think Mage, Namzi is no longer the priority for players when we see it in this lobby.
Well, you talked a bit about Dragon Comps before. Let's start kind of getting directly on the table what our players who have placed 7th and 8th need to do. Well, hello.
Talking about getting on the table, something you want to get on the table in Stage 2 is the big old bear, Volley Bear online. Shimmer Skill, not quite there just yet, but a Dragonmancer start instead for Lucas.
Okay, well, no, very good start for them. But to go back to the previous point, what do our players who didn't do so well in the first game, what do they need to do to get through and get these top 1 finishes?
Well, they need to have a lot of gold to do it because dragons cost a lot of money, and 2-star dragons cost even more, and leveling to 9 costs even more, and I can keep going on and on and on. And that is why Shimmer Skill is so relevant. That's why we're noting the fact that Volibear is on this board, because once you get 3 Shimmer Skill online, especially with an item like Goldmancer's Staff, you're able to propel yourself into a very, very, very rich bank account.
Of course, we did note from before our previous game, it's all about, if you find that Volibear, find that Jax, to get things really online to the early level. Makes a lot of sense. We'll hopefully be skipping around, check out a few more folks as we've got ourselves a little bit of upgrade for Lucas. Of course, let's see. Oh, in fact, yes, we'll actually be getting our first augment selection coming through. So you noted before the Mage is a little bit disfavored. Tech Summers apparently disagrees.
Tech Summers likes playing AP, so I'm not surprised he's someone that really, anything that's AP, he's down to go down that route and see what he's able to do. But Salvi picks up Trade Sector, might be leaning towards Astrals again, despite not having a great performance in that game 1. Or it could be Yone, or it could be any reroll comp that favors from all the extra rolls you get from that augment.
Oh, who is this? Our good and special friend. It's Knife's Edge coming to the field once again. I think this time round, we have got just the one Knife's Edge in, so hopefully that will free up the Siphon Comp to be a lot more flexible. It does seem like our players are spreading things out dramatically more in Game 2.
I'm impressed of it. Now I think, more in his playstyle, slamming the Thieves Gloves early on. He's a player that likes to play high tempo in Stage 2. Looking for a win here with the Ezreal still alive. Karma and Twitch, Ezreal and Zeri. The battle of the pretty weak units, to be honest, for this Stage 2. But in the end, it will be Twitch with a sliver of health who wins out. And Prestivant maybe trying to go for that win streak, not going to be able to do it. Although we see Gold Collector for Briggs. This is also another way to get that gold rolling.
Oh boy, I mean, we've seen how incredibly powerful this can be. We talked about the Gold Monster stuff, be able to accelerate a win streak dramatically. Now we've got ourselves a Gold Collector to do much the same thing for Briggs, who of course, again, as we said again and again, is a player looking to be hyper dominant. Came second in the first game. If they can pick up a first in Game 2, they will position themselves extremely well to be one of our 2 making it out of today.
And with Gold Collector, you want to try and focus on getting a very strong front line, especially. If you kind of lean more towards that back line, get another damage carry, it might take away kills from the Karma. So actually just get a brick wall or a Cavalier, Guardian mix wall in that front line and try and get kills with Karma instead.
Well, we have got a pretty solid brick wall here. Bricks coming in up against Lucas, both undefeated so far, so we'll get to see directly who is the strongest Looking out, of course, for those procs from our gold collector. But unfortunately, Volibear is proving to be a pretty tough nut to crack.
That's one kill on the Zac. Now Volibear next in line.
Oh.
Karma still alive. The Inner Flame going to hit both units in the back. The Hand of Justice with the healing might be the difference maker, and that's going to be the case there. Going to be Brix getting another win, 3-win streak for him. Going back to game 1, we saw Brix win streaking as well. He found a Deja to do it, though. Can he do the same in this game? Is Mortar going to bless him? Give him a Deja with Gold Collector and Hand of Justice? It might be the case.
David, I thought you had sworn off cast the cursing, but apparently you're just going to leap head first into it.
I'm using Mortark as a vessel to then bless the player.
I see.
So
it's his fault.
It's a difficult rule. You know, it's all that witchcraft that I'm doing over here, Peter. But one day I'll let you know how it actually works.
Well, as we take a look at our components we've got live right now, we can see that Slamming Items has been more or less the flavor. Toddies, Tech Summers, and Salvi are 3 bottom players, all with at least 1 item unslammed.
The math checks out. If you don't slam items, you lose HP, you lose rounds, you go for that lose streak instead of that win streak, trying to get your econ in a less healthy way, actually, when it comes to your HP standings. Looking at Brix, though, he has a lot of options to work with. Maybe keeping too much options open is going to, maybe affect his econ a little bit, but I don't think he minds because that win streak will get him that econ back anyway.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I suppose to be fair, with the gold collector putting in more money, he should really be able to double down as we check in with Salvi. And as you said, we've got the trade sector. We've got the chance to get in some pretty serious Astrals. Last time around, of course, it seemed like a very good comp. We did have some, some comments about the lack of a kind of a mana item to allow Lux to cast a lot, and eventually ended up getting deleted by Graves.
And we'll see how Salvi does. It's very interesting. I think Salvi has done his research. Even though he gets a bad result in game 1 playing Astrals, he says, I know this comp can do good things. I know it can get me a top 4 if I have a good setup for it with Trade Sector, for example. I'm going to continue going down that route. I'm going to play the lose streak angle for stage 2. Makes a lot of sense until you have that board stability, until you hit that, maybe that Lux 2 and slam these items that we see there on the side. Could be a JG. We have another rod as well open, so definitely in line for that AP Lux if he chooses to go down that route again. I'm curious how many players are going to try and repeat the comp they played in game 1.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to try and keep track of that because it's certainly a mark of a good player to play what the game is giving them. But from Salvi's side, I do spot a sneaky little Nomsy on the bench there, so maybe we might be seeing that route headed down. Certainly, as you said, nerfed coming into the patch. Not the absolute monster that she has. He has been before. I can't even remember. But Salvi, they've got the lost streak. They've got a decent amount of money in the bank, and they've got enough Astrals to maybe think about just going down the Astral route.
We do see a Lilia on the bench. Lilia comp we didn't see in game 1, but Todji from Brazil has been playing a lot of it in the last week in the different scrims we've been seeing from him. We saw it in EMEA as well. It's a comp that is on the fringe of the meta, but definitely can be a contender if you feel there's a lot of pressure in the lobby, if you have to find a route for your AP start. Lilia might be the one to do it with a reroll angle and trade sector for Salvi. It could be a possibility. I think he's going to keep this Lilia on the bench and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, keeping their options open.
Well, never mind. Lilia is yeeted into existence. Watch out, whoever is anywhere near her landing spot, because she is no longer on this bench.
Still, Salvi, I imagine would want to kind of hang around for as long as possible to get as many trade sector procs off as they can. Taking a pretty heavy L there. Summers doing the same. So we've got a big separation. Brix up at the top. Unlike Summers and Salvi, remains intact.
What did I say, Peter? I used Mortark as a vessel, and Deja has been found. Deja is on the bench. Brix, you are welcome. I found the way to bless my EMEA players, and now I will be unstoppable next set. Brix, how can you find another Deja this early on? He leveled to 6, of course. That's why, but still, it's a very lucky find.
I mean, yes, you look at those odds down in the bottom left of your screen, the 5%. But apparently, Brix just is all about the high roll, and maybe, if you get that mindset, good things just come to you.
We're going to have to see if he tries to make Econ. I don't think it'll be the case unless he wants to forego the Kaisa angle and just play for Deja instead. Obviously, could be a viable way to do it. Doesn't find any gold in this shop. Is he thinking about selling the Deja instead?
No, don't you dare.
Oh, he is. He is. Brix says, I am too good at this game. I don't even need Deja with this gold collector to actually propel me forward. I'm going to try and go for, I think, a Kaisa angle instead. I don't think it's going to be a Karma reroll. Of course, Karma got nerfed already in the last few patches. No longer really a viable carry to have going to the late game especially.
No, and I'm kind of glad we are past those terrifying days when Karma would sit on the front line and just delete absolutely everything. Though not as popular in tournament play. As we look across our economy, we can see there's a decent amount of gold in the mix, though we've only got a couple of players with decent streaks, Brix and Salvi, both on 5 streaks. Everybody else has to settle for much smaller streaks.
We'll see what, I'm going to say Bricks, I think he's now finally facing, what looks like a strong board. Going to decide to slam some items. Close plays at 88 HP in the middle of the pack right now, and he wants to make sure he wins this round. Inner Flame from Karma onto this clumped up board will be massive. And look at here, the Shimmer skill item is Goldmancer's Staff, and that means I think this game we will definitely be seeing some Dragon boards, because this is the Shimmer skill item to print a whole lot of money in stages 2 and 3.
Yeah, so we should be getting a pretty big contrast from what we were seeing in game 1, as you said. A lot of money being pushed out. The gold collectors trying to proc desperately will. The cast is a little off time, though, and Bricks will have to settle for their first loss.
Essentially whiffs the cast into the Wukong that was almost dead already, and the mini Karma kills Karma 2. Bricks' streak is over, and Salvi hits a Nidalee 3, my favorite unit, but I think only as a transitional star, 3-star unit to maybe print some extra rewards from that Astral trait.
Yeah, well, of course, I think it was mentioned by the desk specifically, once we start getting to those bigger Astral numbers, you get those 3 stars in, even if they aren't individually powerful, you are potentially getting those item drop rewards, even if last time round the RNG didn't quite land that way.
Karma says bye-bye. Zaya is now the gold collector carrier for this stage. 3, a different carrier for each stage. I like it. Bricks keeping it varied for his opponents to have a good time when they face him. Maybe not so much, because he is currently very, very strong. We're going to check out Lucas, though, and see what Lucas has been doing. 88 HP for him. A Volibear, Goldmancer's Staff, and, I mean, just a whole lot of money. 5 Shimmer skill. Found the Itis as well, Peter. This is going to be a very good game for Lucas.
Yeah, the Determined Investor will keep them here for a little bit longer. As we see what Lucas has got for us here, so we are actually seeing a pretty interesting setup from Kurum X. They've got what looks, I don't want to call this too early, but might we be seeing Lilia actually coming into the field?
Could be. I was mistaken who to be rocking this comp. It's not Solved, it's going to be Kurum instead, picking up the mantle of the Watch Out Cavalier comp, in this case with Darkflight, which is a comp we didn't see much in EMEA. No. We saw more the more traditional Cavalier vertical variant, or maybe less traditional, I'm not entirely sure. But at least for NA, the traditional comp we saw mostly was the Darkflight variant with the Ice Cream Cone that NA loves to build so much.
So talk to me about, hopefully we'll get a chance to check out Kurum X in a second, but talk to me about, what kind of difference that kind of comp can put together. What is Lilia good against? What is Lilia bad against?
It's much more bursty because you are able to get a lot more AP onto Lilia, of course, putting her in a way where Darkflight units buff her with the Ice Cream Cone, and she gets that much more HP to try and burst down targets. But you have to assemble that comp first. You want to maybe roll at 7. It depends on if you want to also get your 2 stars like the Diana and the Rengar. So it really depends what spot you're in for Kurum. If he thinks he needs to roll at 6 to get that Lilia 2 stars at the very least, that'll be the first priority. And then he decides what level he wants to roll on to get those 3 stars.
We check in with Prestevan again. Of course, we do remember from last time round, managed to claw their way back up the standings to finish out with a very, very respectable 3rd place. Of course, we got Volibears absolutely everywhere this time round. Doing another great job of item holding, but we can see the pure damage Prestevan has put out. It looks like this time round in Game 2, Prestevan refuses to play from behind, and instead is going to play strong as hell.
This is the playstyle he is more suited to. This is the playstyle he preferred in the NA regionals as well. He was one of the players that lost the least HP in stages 2 and 3, but also had the least gold. The math does check out. He used that gold to get stronger, as is the case here. We saw him slam TG earlier on, trying to play high tempo, trying to, again, get himself into a position where he's very healthy going to stage 4. And even if he starts bleeding out, he almost guarantees a top 4 or top 5.
All right, we'll check out the items again. Talking about slamming items, we are seeing some pretty empty inventories here. Lucas, the only one who's holding on to more than 2 components. And Toddy, of course, needs to do very well in this game. Again, our 8th place player from our first game is on a streak. So, setting themselves up well for success.
And Salvi at 44 HP. With these Astrals, it's not quite working out. Finally finds the Lux 2. That might be the difference maker, but still one away from the Giga Vlad we've seen before. Ionic Spark has been built, so a good way to shred that magic resistance in that front line. Finds a Deja. Overall, I mean, I don't know if this is the right direction. Picking up Astrals 2 games in a row, a comp that no one really considers to be one of the stronger directions to take in a game like this, where everything is on the line, on a day like this, rather.
I do like the item choice here, the featherweights. Salvi, of course, is recognizing, as it was in the previous game, how much of each round is on the Lux's performance. Unfortunately, one of the comps that they're going to struggle against is our friend, the Darkflight. So we actually get to see what Kurum X is up to. Notable, again, this is building more towards Lilia. We've got a shared chalice of power rather than perhaps one of the Darkflight essence or the Zeeks we might see in a Rengar-centric comp. It doesn't actually work so well here because Rengar wasn't strong enough to take down Lux, and the rest of the comp got clumped up and destroyed in the midfield.
Not a surprising result. Salvi has hit a higher peak already with this Astro comp. You normally hit your peak in Stage 3 when you start rolling for those 3-star and 2-star units. In the case of Kurum, still had only a singular rod on that Lilia. It is a Lilia 2, that is true, but still nowhere close to the items you want to have on this unit just yet. Axiom Arc is a good pickup, but you still need to have more items to amplify this Lilia as the main carry before we get to the point where Kurum's going to feel stable and strong going into Stage 4.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly know how incredibly powerful she can get to, but what we've got right now, it's fascinating to see the Randuins there being put just, well, until that last second, being put just to try and buff her up specifically. She's going to run right into the center again, as we are, of course, looking for Huese deleted. They've got themselves a strong setup for what the Jade Siphon. Not quite hit as of yet, but very ready to go.
Yeah, Wukong going to be the item carrier for now, the crushing blow, crushing the hopes of Kurum to stay healthy and maybe even sane at the end of the Stage 3, because he's going to be put into a spot where he has to try and stabilize in Stage 4. And it's not easy to do so. It's going to have to depend a lot on the item components he gets from Wolves to try and find the right items to really put Lilia in a good spot. Ionic Spark, Hand of Justice are definitely the kind of items you want on this carry.
All right, and if you'd like to join in the conversation, please use the hashtag TFT Western LCQ over on Twitter to make your voices heard. As we check out the score table, we can see, of course, Cormax with Friend Lilia at the very bottom of the table, with Tech Summers just up above them. We can see that Lucas and Salvi are not that far away, but the separation between our top 4 and our bottom 4 is pretty damn stark.
It's pretty much Kurum and Taji switching places in terms of the bot 4 and top 4 from before. Josue finds his way up there as well, whereas Prestivan and Brix, top 3 in the last game in Game 1, are still currently top 3 going to Stage 4 as well. Looking at the gold total, Salvi very, very rich. Tech Summers as well, level 7, but everyone is rolling, trying to stabilize, and Taji has 122 gold. I said Goldmancer's staff is going to propel someone forward in terms of their bank account, but I did not expect this. Taji is about to buy out every unit in the game with this much gold.
No, I actually like this, though we don't see it very often. They're keeping the Gold Monster at full strength, and they know that once they spend that money, it's gone, and the Gold Monster's not going to be strong anymore. So, presumably...
He's 80 HP, Peter, with this much gold.
Yeah, but if he keeps hold of this gold until he's got enough gold to go straight for the dragons, he can keep, he can have his cake and eat it.
I flamed Rich Get Richer in the past. I will no longer do so because Taji is very, very rich, and the rich do indeed get richer, at least in TFT and, well, in the world as well most of the time. And this is going to be crazy. I mean, we talk about Fast 9 boards. This is the Fast 9 position that every player wants to be in a tournament like this, where you need to get first. You might lose here, that's fine. You have 80 HP to work with and 132 gold, Peter.
Oh, boy. Well, I guess maybe eventually you have to spend some gold. We have got another set of moments coming in, pay to win, of course. I don't think we're going to be seeing that one emerging again, but Ascension certainly would be a very good generic augment to make sure those late game dragons hit like a truck.
He needs to find a very strong combat augment if he wants to win this game outright. And it looks like Ascension might just be enough. Obviously, with a Dragon board that I think he's going to be able to assemble, it's going to be enough. You're going to be able to have enough stall with the Terra and the Ida, especially the 2 stars. And I'm not even doubting he's going to get there, because with this much gold, it would be very surprising for him not to go there.
Well, Toddy may have all the gold in the world, but something they are missing if we're talking about trying to stall out for Ascension to kick in is frontline items. They've got none right now. I mean, they've got tons of damage items, sure, but their frontline right now is a little bit more anemic than I would certainly like if we're trying to hold out for longer rounds.
Lagoon stacks might help with that if he's able to get them with the Kai'Sa, with the Shojin especially. Ooh. But this is going to be just a scary board to face for any player. Not very strong yet because you have a very weak front line, but once he's able to go 9, it'll be absolutely crazy. And Brix still staying healthy. He's streaking. He has Gold Collector as well, so there's going to be a lot of very rich players in this lobby. Despite the last one being a prismatic augment to start things off, this is going to be the more high-roll lobby that we've been seeing, at least for today, at least for these first 2 games. Yeah,
Brix is being a hyper dominant, as we said. Yeah, I think we know that's the whole thing. We get into the gold augment situation, and players are much more on steady ground. However, Huese is building their way up to challenge Brix from second place. The 2 top performing players right now have got themselves a whole heap of hurts. Huese is going to be going into the Jade line, so we're set for a collision course.
Very similar to what we saw last game from him. He's a player that likes playing those kind of stabilizing at stage 4 kind of boards, fast 8 instead of fast 9. He likes guarantees he's going to be in the top 4. That's his mission for today, and I think, or at least for this game, and I think he's in a good position to do so. Streaking right now, that means he is currently strong on the board, but he's also healthy. 82 HP for him.
We check in with Summers here, and we can see a comp we weren't expecting to see coming to the field. Nomsy coming in, also taking away a few of those Astrals, which I'm sure Salvi won't be terribly pleased about. Get up against Cormax and the Lilia reroll come. Cormax is on 14 HP right now. They need to get the wins in. Keep your eye closely on that Nomsy. Those casts are going to hurt like hell. Rocking down, and nearly everyone's dying, of course. Rengar is not the beast we are familiar with. Instead gets blown up, and there's no Lilia to even wave goodbye. I think Corm is just about going to survive, but it's still a big loss.
If there's anyone that will be playing this Nomsy Mage comp, it is Tech Summer. He's a player that, told me when I called him and I spoke to him that his pocket pick would be Nomsy Evoker. I guess Nomsy Mage is also
it's the same
in his, in his lane, and what he likes to play as an AP player. And in this case, he has Dragon Imperialist, an augment that we saw quite a bit in EMEA Finals with Psalm and with the Lagoon line, but in this case, playing it with the Nomsy line instead.
No, I love Dragon Imperialist for Nomsy. Being able to get the execute is amazing, especially for an AoE. But first and foremost on our mind, in a lobby where Brix and Jose are both looking incredibly strong, two players are in big trouble. Salvi, Cormax, they're on single-digit HP. It's almost certain we're going to lose one of them, at least, in this coming round.
And this is a bad spot to be in. You don't have gold, you don't have HP. Your Lilia is very, very far from a 3-star. She's not fully itemized either. Things have not really gone how Kurum X planned. At this point, Thrill of the Hunt and Action Mark are great, especially when you have your units, ready to go, fully itemized. In this case, only 2 items on the Lilia, 5 away from that 3-star copy, and only 5 HP to work with. When there are so many players that are so strong, they've been high rolling the entire game with Goldmancer's staff. Salvi versus Liquid Kuramax, EMEA versus NA. Who will stay alive in this game too?
Only one gets to leave this round. Of course, we're back to our friend Lux being fully itemized with just the damage item, so we'll have those big casts. Unfortunately, for Kuramax, the big casts are enough to absolutely rip through the comp. It wasn't even a little bit close. The Lilia Betrayal will send Kuramax out with an 8th. And everybody else is got way ahead above water.
From a completely unbiased perspective, it is good to see the first place player taking an 8th. That balances out the standings a tiny bit, and it makes it that much more exciting when players are able to flip around the result. We see maybe someone like Taji doing quite well. Josue, of course, as well, that also got bought for in the game 1. And Salvi is someone that actually got bought for in game 1, is currently sitting at 6 HP. He has to turn things around. Ooh. Oh, what a position to be in. You're going to have to maybe sell the Sylas for a Sylas 1, but Sylas is so important as a frontline in this composition. Do you just wait? You're at 6 HP.
Oh my gosh, this is a decision that could send Salvi to the Dragonlance Championship or could send them home in this game. We're going to be up against our friend Deja, of course. We've thrown away Dejas in the past with a gold monster
it's going to be the Zippy onto the Lux. If the Zippy gets the kill, Lux is taking down the Deja and the Zippy. The 1-2 punch, and that might be it for Salvi. The damage is no longer there. Varus and Vlad, the V brothers, trying to do their thing. But will it be enough, Peter?
I don't think so. It's going to be very hard without any of the itemized carries. Zippy, of course, will keep on pouring out the shields. Salvi, the decision was made. No 3-star Lux. No way to get rid of Zippy. The guild has arrived. Lucas takes their toll. Kuramax is out. Salvi is out. We have our top 6.
We're now at the Treasure Dragon. The items that are going to round out most of the carries or the tanks for these players are coming in. They have to be very careful how much gold they want to roll, especially if they're thinking of going level 9, if they're thinking, oh, I still need some gold to try and find my key 2-star units.
I think we were seeing that respected from our players. They're taking relatively early choices there, maybe hoping, or not going to hold out for the perfect items, but just good enough. A large opponent wanted to kind of... Oh, hello. What have we got here?
Brix is looking for a Xayah 3. 5 copies currently, finds the Hecarim 2 as well. Is currently rolling through, finds a Seraphine 2-star as well, has some interesting items.
Oh, come on!
And loaded dice on the bench, but doesn't find any Xayahs on that roll.
I mean, I want to say Brix is just going to do it again, but that was a savage betrayal. I think maybe we're just taking a few more moments to contemplate. Of course, doesn't have a lot of money in the bank anyway. We have, of course, got the Radiant Edge of Night in there. We'll give those 2 extra lives to whoever it lands upon.
Surprised how desperate Bricks was with that loaded dice. Maybe trying to pressure this lobby and eliminate some players and guarantee the top 4. He's still very healthy. He doesn't have to use these loaded dice yet. Can try and find some more natural Zayas in the shops first before trying to get them from loaded dice. But in this case, facing off against Lucas, who is pretty much fighting for his life currently. Last place in the standings of the players that are left alive. Deja trying to do her thing. The Wind Blast coming through. The Zippy did not go to Zaya, but as I say it, the curse comes through. The Zippy jumps, but is now onto the Seraphine instead. The Edge of Night so relevant in this fight. At least until the Deja started looking at Zaya a little bit wrong and blasted her into outer space with the help of Jace as well. Lucas stays healthy and Bricks takes a tiny hit down to 61.
Yeah, Jose, the one who stays on top, 90 HP and a win streak at this point in the game is pretty darn impressive. Tex down on the bottom with 17, Lucas just above them. We are starting to see at least the players below second place start to really drop down. Toddy finding the 2-star Shyvana. I think things are about to pick up.
Yeah, I'm curious what these other boards look like. Bricks, he's healthy, he's stable. We can see him, I think a few rounds later, he'll be alive here, but I'm wondering what Tex Summers is looking like because he is certainly currently sitting at 17 HP. Decided to go for the off-meta Nomsy Mage route. And maybe just doesn't quite have enough damage. He gets the AP from the Lux, from the Chalice there. He has a Giant Slayer to multiply that damage as well. The Archangels will scale throughout a long fight, but is this front line good enough to stall out for that scaling to happen?
At least the Siphon does end up going away from the Nomsy, which will make an enormous difference. The front line is holding for now.
Oh, the Zoe's big.
Yeah, the invincibility frames coming in there buys even more time for Nomsy to keep on scaling up. The big old dragons are very tough to put down, but with enough time, Summers holds on, turns around their loss streak, and hands Prestiman a well-earned loss there.
All the homies coming out, the ZZ Rot portal, the Daisy as well, trying to buy time for this Nomsy to continue scaling, and scaling it does. The win for Tex Summers jumps up in the HP standings. Lucas and Prestivan now with the target on them, the bullseye for some players, trying to knock out Prestivan, who had a very good game 1. Lucas was middle of the pack and is trying to bounce back up into that top 4 in this game 2. Taji hits his Bard 2. Let's go back to Taji's board because he had 120 gold, and yeah, to no one's surprise, the Dragons have assembled. Shyvana 2 is here. I mean, he's only missing a few last upgrades, but overall a player that I think can take this game 2 and has the ascension to help him out with some extra damage as well later on in the fights.
Of course, we can see the consequences. We go Dragon, a different flavor of Dragon rather instead. We've got Lucas up against Tex Summers. So again, we're looking for that Nomsy to scale throughout the fight. The front line is looking pretty healthy so far. The Gold Monsters will chunk through a fair bit of it though. No, Nomsy still is staying alive. A lot of the important carries are not dead. The Aoshin's cast will rain down the fire, but it's not quite finishing the job. Does actually get killed off at the end. And Lucas, they're out of there.
Lucas taking down Tex Summers, the Nomsy Whisperer, when no one thought that Nomsy Mage was the way to go, unlike a few patches ago. All of a sudden, he's able to stay stable in Stage 5, win fights decisively against some big dragon boards. Not quite the biggest. Taji, of course, I think is the real menace going into Stage 6. And, I mean, is that Josue still at 94 HP, Peter? How can this guy be so healthy?
Well, of course, that's going to be a Soraka in the mix there. Given enough time, that Soraka's going to turn into an absolute atom bomb that will tear through the rest of the lobby if Jose can't be taken off their perch in the next few rounds.
This, of course, won't matter if Taji is able to hit that extremely high cap where he's almost, unable to lose a round. He's going to be able to whittle down that HP round by round against Josue. But a very interesting battle here. Prestivan also fighting for his life at 13 HP. I'm wondering what his board is looking at. Hits the Siphon too. That's a big, big upgrade for Prestivan. That's maybe what he needed to try and stay stable and try and have that Siphon rampage his way into these backline carries.
Well, we know not to count out Prestivan before they are fully dead, as we will see that Dragon Ball from before now being deployed from the other side, ghostly style. So we get a little taste, though perhaps not of the full power. Summers, of course, along with Prestivan, down in the danger zone, though I think Tex Summers will be able to survive this round at least. We get a little taste of what we'll see from Aoshin later on as the Dragons will dance here. We can see it's not going to be a remotely even fight by the end of it.
Yeah, Siphon on Siphon action, but one Siphon, surrounded, but trying to heal his way up with the Hand of Justice. Not enough.
No!
Josue is so strong, and Prestivan deleted, taken down, vanquished in that 5th place position. Tex Summers once again sitting in 4th. Bricks once again sitting in third, but this time it's Taji and Josue. South America is back trying to say, hey, don't count us out after one game. We're ready to rumble. We're ready to try and qualify to that Dragonlance Championship.
Oh, boy. Well, still, all credit to Taji to come back from an 8th. It's, of course, this is one of the skills that our tournament players will learn, particularly in these kind of competitions where you can't go take a break after the game. You can't say, I've had enough games for this evening. I'm just going to stop and come back tomorrow. You are forced to carry on playing, even if your first game is a disaster.
The final test here, can Tech Summers do it? One dragon against many. One Namzi against really the scariest dragons you can possibly assemble. Fully itemized Aoshin almost dies, but the lightning rain comes through. Namzi is deleted, and I'm not surprised. I mean, this is the high cap board versus the mid cap board. Tech Summers taken down once again in 4th. A consistent showing from him in the first 2 games. And the siphon from Josue is just too strong. Bricks takes a big hit. The puddle of water hits him in the face, exactly down to 0 HP, calculated from Josue.
Well, to be fair, for Bricks, that's going to be a 2nd into a 3rd. That's not bad at all. We are in a position here where we might actually see the 1st place player go 8th and the 8th place player go 1st. I mean, what does that mean for the field overall when we've got, we don't have necessarily the one big dominant player early on?
It balances things out. It makes things very exciting where every player might still be in contention for those top 2 spots going into games 5 and 6. And that's really what we all want. We want to see a very close affair. No bias here whatsoever from us. Definitely not. And we're going to see the last few fights. I think are going to be very interesting. We're going to have to see if Taji, who had all that gold to work with, is going to be able to actually win out this lobby, or if Josue's very high-tempo playstyle, staying healthy throughout the entire game, is going to be able to be enough to take down this Aoshin, take down this Terra. A few upgrades still left to come in here. And there it is. There's a Terra 2.
Oh, boy. I mean, they're searching as well for more, but I think that's going to be good enough. Of course, we've got an enormously strong Terra on the front line with a redemption, of course, to keep them alive, even when they're going to ult again and again. It does not look good for Jose here, but they're doing everything they can to get that last bit of positioning in.
And this siphon has been carrying for so long for Josue. A 12 win streak for him. Josue versus Taji. Peru versus Brazil. Massive Shroud comes in onto that backline, but not quite enough. The siphon chomps onto the Soraka. Aoshin is the big carry that needs to stay alive. Lightning Rain about to come through, and it does. Siphon goes the wrong way and gets taken down in the process. Big, big win for Taji. And now, little by little, I think that HP is going to whittle away.
And that was on the edge of the doomsday clock as well. Just ticked over to 100 on that Soraka. So would have started deleting units from next round. But yeah, absolutely perfect timing there to get things online. Of course, the health, as you said, while it could be whittled away, there is a lot of room to work with here to try and make adjustments, to do that little bit of change with all the room you have to work with.
The Shroud is the big thing on this Jax. The anti-heal on the Shyvana against a Jade comp that wants to heal so much with 7 Jade is going to be massive as well.
All right, let's roll it over once more. Of course, we're looking...
The Shroud hits.
For the big dragons, and yep, the Shroud will tear through. That's a massive amount of extra time bought. We're looking to see if we can get ourselves a cast before the round is over. Everyone on the front line is getting torn into, but Terra is incredibly hard to put down, still stays alive. That Radiant Bramble Vest buys just a little bit more time. The lightning is coming. Siphon is going to be taken down, and it will be Toddy now on a 4-round win streak.
A battle of millimeters. The Siphon Rampage almost came in at the end there against the Aoshin. We almost saw the Shio path into Aoshin, instead took a hard left onto the Terra. Instead, the Rose Thorn Fest, so massive against the IE that is on Shio as well, delaying some of that damage, not allowing the crits to occur. Gargoyle Stoneplate as well, Redemption healing everything up. I mean, this board is looking so strong for Taji. We talked about it. This is the exact thing we predicted. Taji would eventually assemble the highest cap board that you can currently assemble in this game and would end up winning out unless some massive positioning plays are made here from Josue.
Game number 2 has been on turn over the table game. Yes, the Shroud will end up missing. But Siphon charges right into the back. It will allow for a very early cast, though, which means a lot of the board's going to get wiped away. Siphon is gone, and the Aoshin does enough work, even having taken the charge to the face. These are our 7th and 8th place finishes from Game 1, both looking to make an impact and claw their way back in to the LCQ.
I love the seesaw here in the HP. Jose was at 90, Taji was like at 15 or 20, and now slowly they're coming back together, and then, it'll go back down again. Of course, Soraka, it has a lot to say in the terms of the HP going up for Taji as he's able to get this win streak going. I think for Josue, everything has to go right for him to win a fight. But at this point, because the Soraka's still healing up, it means that just one fight won't do it. You have to win several to win this game, and it only get worse as these fights go on. So we'll see if the Shroud can hit, if the Siphon Rampage can come through and actually get a kill on the Aoshin. Another item on the secondary carry, Xiaoyu, is going to be big, but will it be big enough, Peter?
I'd be fascinated to see. I'm keeping an eye out for very last second positioning changes here because that has been the flavor of this matchup. These players, of course, they know exactly who they're facing. They know where the positioning difference will be.
Aoshin in the middle, but Shroud is on the wrong side of that central position. Hits the singular Xiaoyu and the Terra instead. The Earthquake coming in late won't be too relevant. The Siphon charges the wrong way into almost an immovable object that Terra 2 is with that Rose Thorn Vest. Deleted the Siphon. The Jace comes through, but the Jace is not going to do enough against all these dragons. Shyvana, the fire comes through. Jace taken down. Taji is now the win streaker, and Josue, I think he's happy to take a second in this game.
I think at this point, yeah, it's just a chance to try and do your best. I mean, look, as much as it's seeming like we've really tipped over the edge here, so for Josue, talk to me here. What kind of differences? We've already talked about the Shroud. Are there any other things they can try and do to try and tip the matchup?
He has no gold. He's angling towards the Pantheon 3, but it's not going to happen. And even if it does, the Pantheon 3, or the Pantheon 2 right now, has no items anyway, so not going to be that relevant. It's all about the Shroud, really, and the Siphon. But even then, I think this is the highest cap board in the game for a reason. It's incredibly strong. You need a lot of gold to make it work. You need to have a very good early and mid game and really transition perfectly. And maybe get Gold Manager Staff early as well. And that will be the case for Taji, who was just so rich at level 7. But as I say that, the Caster Curse comes through. Aoshin is dead. Siphon is still alive, trying to rampage and chomp and bite his way into that Soraka. Goes the wrong way, but still, once the main damage carry is out of the way, all of a sudden the tables might be turning here. But is this Shyvana going to do it? I don't think it's the case. Soraka battling against a Jade statue while a big, massive dragon bites her head off. Soraka's good, but not that good, and that will be a loss for Taji. Josue still trying to fight his way into this game.
I think these two players are going to claw each other all the way down to minimal HP. What a great round, but of course, we have still got upgrades coming in. Again, Toddy had that time and they spent it. They've now got 2-star Xiaoyus on both sides of the field, and we've got our probably last items joining the fray.
We're so late into this game. We're going to go into stage 7. We don't get that every game. I think really you need to have a lot of different things going right for that to happen. A JG comes in here. Could be on the Xiaoyu. Not the best items, of course, but does work well with the IE and the Hand of Justice. All that extra crit will help out. And in the case of Taji, it will be the Hand of Justice, which could work on a Shyvana, for example. Got some extra healing as well. We saw her almost win that last fight despite Aoshin, the main carry, not being there. So that could be the difference maker if a similar circumstance occurs in this next fight. Bard, Terra, we're working on these 3 stars. We're trying to find a way to guarantee the win now for Taji. He says, all right, I lost one fight. Time to get serious. Time to try and go for those 3 stars.
Yeah, the gold just isn't quite there, though. From the side of Josue Deleted, they have got some gold built up of their own, but not enough gold to go up to level 9.
One thing we haven't talked about is the fact that Josue has Battle Mage and Augment. It's not really considered the normal way to build into an AD comp like Jade Whisper, which is working perfectly here. And now we understand why that Jace has the 3 items instead of the Pantheon, for example. We're going to see now where the Siphon goes. He's going back into the back line.
So
Aoshin once again bitten but not killed off. The Lightning Rain comes through. That's so much damage. The second bite comes through. Aoshin's still alive, but Siphon's all by himself. He's against a Terra, a Shyvana. I don't think he can do it, and that's going to be the case. Josue taken down to 7 HP. We're going to 7-2. It's a round you don't get to very often, Peter.
Oh my gosh, the first will be last. The last will be first. It's seeming like that way. I mean, perhaps the item difference was the difference maker. But still, though, as you said, really resetting the entire competition here by having our players have such variable performances between. While this may be the last chance qualifier, the quality of players here is still exceptional. I think we should be seeing a whole lot more of this.
We're switching around the units. Once again, the battle of the Shroud. Dodging it or hitting it is what is going to be so relevant for that Lightning Rain from Aoshin to come through. And Jax does not hit his Soraka, instead hits a Shyvana, but not the Premier carry on Taji's side. Siphon also on the wrong side. And I think this might be the fight that Taji will end up winning to take this game too. Siphon stuck on the Soraka, not able to get much done, and Aoshin this time extremely healthy. Hits the Xiaoyu with the disrespect, hits the Lightning Rain, hits the Siphon, and that will be game 2 going to Brazil. Taji on top with Josue having a fantastic and very strong tempo game, staying so healthy and almost securing the top 2 because of it.